Hey, I'm Jake. I make RPG supplements and videos about Pathfinder 2. Being new to Pathfinder 2, or PF2, but a longtime lover of D&D, I want to share the things that I find along the way and share them with you in a way that makes them easy to digest and hopefully fun. And that's why we're discussing the Poppet Ancestry, or race, and the Witch class, to combine them in a creepy and interesting way. Our character today could not exist in 5e. It will be a Poppet Witch, not a witch who uses puppets. An actual puppet, that's a witch. I love this game. I'm going to start from first level with ancestry selection and backgrounds to show you an idea of how you could pull feats and skills and powers from PF2 to make nearly anything you can think of. I'll only be taking the build to 6th level to give you a start, then you can take it from there. First, what is a puppet? In our world, it's basically a voodoo doll. You do things to the doll as if you were doing them to the person and it's supposed to affect the person. Wiccans generally use it to cast beneficial luck or healing spells on someone with their permission. In PF2, puppets are small, basic constructs commonly made of cloth, wicker, and wood that help their owners with simple tasks, usually rich people. Occasionally, puppets gain sapience, independence, and a spark of life. Elevated beyond mere helpers or playthings, these puppets are free to chart their own destinies. Their size and appearance vary, but nearly all puppets appear humanoid in shape and between 1 to 3 feet tall and 6 to 30 pounds. Very, very rarely, a common puppet spontaneously manifests a spark of life and becomes a thinking, independent creature. A puppet might manifest this life essence through a magical fluke in its construction, a brush with ephemeral spirits, or even the fervent wish of a loving child. Our puppet character was born of the rage and pain of a little girl named Priscilla with an extraordinary ability. She could tap into the realm of the Fae and use the magical essence of the first world to create friends for herself. Because she was so traumatized, and so had boundless anger and fear, these playmates manifested traits of her twisted will. This gave them anger, a desire to protect her, and a violent nature. Her creations have only rough features, so our puppet has a rough, crooked mouth, 2 mismatched button eyes, and has blade-tipped claws for hands. She made many of these friends, but her access to the land of the Fae was severed and so they were lost. This puppet character we are building is one of, if not the last. It has no gender, but we'll call it Playmate. Puppet heritages are varied and really cool. We have Ghost Puppet that I keep thinking is Ghost Pepper. It's not, it's Ghost Puppet. You gain resistance to negative energy equal to half your level, minimum 1, because you've been dead before. Stuffed Puppet. You have little inside you other than cotton, sawdust, or dried leaves. You take no damage from falling regardless of the distance you fall. If you have a stuffed puppet, you can also take the nothing but fluff feat later, which reduces precision damage you take because you're just full of cotton. Even just taking no damage no matter the height of the fall is cool. That's an uncommon power for a PC to have. Next is Toy Puppet. You're tiny. Cute, but unnecessary for this build. Wind-up Puppet. Provided you wind metal tabs on your body a few times each day, you don't need food or water to survive. You must still breathe to ventilate your internal mechanisms and sleep to give your mechanisms rest, just like other puppets. This is weird to me, and it seems like no puppet should have to breathe, eat, or sleep. And I would rule it that way at my table. I mean, who cares? Does it imbalance anything? No, and it makes sense. You're a little doll. Wishborn Puppet. You were wished to life, either by a powerful spellcaster or by the earnest desire of an innocent person who loved you very much. If you roll a success on a saving throw against an emotion or fear effect, you get a critical success instead. This one actually fits our theme very well, but the nothing but fluff feat was too good to pass up. Plus, I didn't want to give an edge against emotional spells. It sort of defeats the point of the whole build. I want it to be affected by emotion strongly. So which one are we going to pick? Stuffed Puppet. Some of you may know where I'm going with this. And we get a Puppet feat. So we'll choose Harmless Doll, 'cause it's creepy. You look like nothing more than an ordinary toy, doll, or statuette, and you can fool others with your innocuous appearance. You gain the trained proficiency rank in Deception, or another skill if you're already trained in Deception. And you can impersonate an inanimate toy or a mindless puppet. You can hide without any cover or concealment from creatures that don't realize you're alive, so long as you're in a location where a toy of your shape wouldn't be out of place, like a carnival booth, city street, or toy shop at the GM's discretion. If you succeed, onlookers still see you, but they mistake you for an inanimate toy. After being fooled once, they realize you're alive and you can't hide from them in this way again. Now that we have our ancestry and heritage, let's move on to our class. We're going to choose witch because you get curses, and I think that's cool for a Poppet because you could curse people through a Poppet. That makes sense. And a couple of other reasons that I'll get to in a minute. A witch is a bit like a wizard from 5e. They get familiars, they cast spells, but your familiar holds your spells like a spellbook and teaches you. And the witches get hex spells, which are fun, weird, magical things you can do that are usually very witchy. They're in addition to your regular spells. It's things like Evil Eye and Confuse People and stuff like that. All witches subscribe to a patron, which is functionally their subclass. Their patrons are mostly general themes like curse, fate, or night. And the patron determines what spell list they use and what bonus spells and abilities they get, and skills. And we are going to choose curse because Poppet curses. Also, it makes some sort of intuitive sense to me that if you're angry, it could spill out in offensive ways in a magical world. And beings that identify with that spillage might reach out to help you, or at least guide you in the ways they want. So taking curse means that we get training in the occultism skill, and you all know how much I love occultism, and pull spells from the occult spell list, which is weird, evil, or otherworldly like mind control, tentacle magic, torture, fun stuff. Curse also gives us the hex cantrip Evil Eye, which we can use to make someone frightened, and gives you the spell Ray of Enfeeblement, which is so much better than in 5e, because it lasts a minute and it doesn't take any concentration, and it can save you from fighters and the like. The target is enfeebled, a condition, which subtracts a number from strength-based melee attack rolls, damage rolls, and athletics checks. It can be really helpful for a spellcaster. Now, familiars. There are lots of options, but we're going to pick a Poppet. What? We're going to choose to make it independent and have manual dexterity so that it can act without us having to control it, and they can use and move objects and tools. My dream idea is to throw the Poppet, it weighs 6 pounds, near an enemy or on an enemy, and then let the Poppet strangle people. Maybe I've seen too many horror movies. I know it might be tricky to work out, but they can still be used to help hand items between party members if not, but I couldn't find any rule stating that a familiar can't grapple. It's not a strike. They can't make strikes, but they have an attack bonus. It grapples an attack. Anyway, moving on. Let me know if I'm wrong on this. First level witch feat. We're taking the basic lesson feat. Lessons are things available only to witches that just further customizes their usually dark magic. We're taking the lesson of vengeance. It gives your familiar the phantom pain spell to teach you, which does persistent mental damage to an enemy without having to concentrate on it, so cool. A lot like enfeeblement, it just stays there, you don't have to do anything else. If they fail, it just does mental damage every round for a minute. And the real reason we're here, the hex spell Needle of Vengeance. A long, jagged needle jabs into the target foe's psyche whenever it tries to attack a specifically forbidden creature. Name yourself or one of your allies. The target takes 2 mental damage anytime it uses a hostile action against the named creature. I would flavor this to be a huge spectral pin that matches the pins used for Poppet magic, like sewing stick pins, just color on one end. And anytime the enemy takes damage from it, it rams into their skull. Also, we'll take the Nothing But Fluff feat at 5th level a little later, so that when you cast the spell and make the needle appear over your enemy's head, you take out a rapier or a big pin that matches the one over their head and slowly skewer your own head with it. You reduce the precision damage because you don't have a brain. So you just have a sword sticking through your head. This would also be great to do during intimidation or like for any curse spells, because it makes you look crazy. Or you could just carry around extra swords or knives for your allies just like stuck in your body. Who's that? Oh, that's Pincushion. We're almost done with first level. We have to still pick our starting skills and backgrounds. I would like Intimidate. You already have occultism, and you'll want to pick up diplomacy and athletics so you can grapple, which I will explain further once we are done with the background. Now, background. I created a background for this. I scoured every skill, background, and feat, and couldn't find what I was looking for, so I made it. You can show this to your GM and see if they approve. The download is in the description, so here it is. Emotionally abused. You had a difficult childhood, marriage, or imprisonment. You have spent a long time trying to put the pieces of yourself back together after this trauma. As part of your journey of self-validation and growth, you've discovered that you have an edge in stressful or violent situations. Choose 2 ability boosts. One must be to charisma or wisdom, and one is a free ability boost. it means increase the score by 2. Unless it's already 18, then you increase it by 1 instead. You're trained in the Deception skill. You gain one of the following special abilities as a result of your abuse. Option 1, Have Mercy. Takes 1 action. With calming words and begging gestures, you convince your foe you are less of a threat. All physical damage dealt by the target to you becomes non-lethal. This effect doesn't incur the typical -2 circumstance penalty for non-lethal attacks with a lethal weapon or attack. An unwilling target must attempt a will save. A willing target can choose to critically fail their saving throw. This lasts for a round to a minute, depending on how well they save. It can only be used once a day. Second option, Are You Sure? Reaction. It's triggered when a foe decides to attack you, coming into effect before the attack is rolled. They have to make a will save. You sow seeds of... will save is boosted by wisdom. You sow seeds of confusion in your target's mind, causing their actions and thoughts to become clumsy. This effect lasts for 1 round. They get enfeebled, clumsy, and stupefied for the round. Really just enough time for you to escape. This amounts to -1 to -3 to pretty much everything they try that round. So that's the background. It's in the description below. On the other hand, if you would like another option, I would choose the Prisoner background instead, which gives you the Stealth skill and the Underworld Lore skill. You gain the experienced Smuggler feat, which is still useful. It just isn't helpful for the storyline I had in mind for this character. But the feel of Prisoner is really similar. So, while Playmate's creator Priscilla is actually the one who was abused, Playmate has had most of her emotions and assumptions about people impressed upon it. While Playmate has been programmed to be violent for a good cause, the psychic impetus that was Priscilla's mind pushing it on no longer exists, meaning that Playmate's default is actually just one of fear and misjudging. It tries to hide or to try to make itself pleasing to others. It volunteers for little tasks like cleaning or helping someone cook. That being said, there has to be a good reason for it to defend itself. It'll defend others immediately and aggressively, sure. But if it's all alone and attacked, it'll try to play dead or escape first before resorting to violence. It truly wants peace, but it's bred for violence. Second level, we get a witch feat. We will take living hair. Sure, puppets. Puppets can have hair, if they're made with hair. So Playmate has scavenged stray hairs from the ground and also from enemies it's killed. And its puppet familiar has stitched and stapled them to its head for it. Yeah, why not? This is why I said we would take athletics, because we can wrestle with this hair and disarm and trip and do a bunch of other stuff. I'll explain more later. I like the idea that our puppet knows that it was made by a girl, Playmate puppet, but she's gone and left Playmate all alone. It wants to fit in better and feels out of place, so it collects hair wherever it can to attach to its own head, so it looks more normal. Most creatures have hair, right? And while we're at it, they also have skin and features that Playmate just doesn't have. Maybe its puppet familiar will stitch on some ears to the sides of its head so it fits in better, or lips, and maybe a skin patch on its arm that has a tattoo on it. Because people do that. It just wants to be accepted as a real person. It doesn't really understand. And speaking of the puppet familiar, I imagine that because of Playmate and Priscilla's history, the familiar might try to care for them in special ways. We're giving it independence, manual dexterity, and eventually the ability to speak, which means it can sing. So it sings its friends to sleep with an eerie, high-pitched voice.
When you're worried and you can't sleep, just count your blessings.
Yeah, that's not eerie.
And you'll fall asleep, counting your blessings.
At second level, we'll take a skill feat, No Cause for Alarm. It allows you to get rid of your ally's frightened condition. Because I love the idea of this aggressive, ugly killing machine going, okay, calm down. Yes, it's okay. It's okay. You need diplomacy to use it, but that's fine. Take it. We're going to be going expert in diplomacy pretty soon. And as I mentioned in the Wildfire Druid vid, if you haven't seen that, it'll be at the end of this video. We're assuming that we can choose a multi-class archetype at every even level for free because most people can. If you can't, you could just skip this part, but it's more flavor than I can shake a Poppet at, so I have to take it. We're choosing the multi-class archetype Summoner Dedication, so we get an Eidolon. Eidolons are spirit beings that use you as their anchor to the world, and they have different natures, sources, and abilities. We'll take the Devotion Phantom Eidolon, and her name is Priscilla. That's right. When we walk into town, we are carried close to the chest of a little girl ghost as her treasured companion. Devotion phantoms are quite protective. Alright, so the phantom can do attacks and stuff, but really it's for roleplay and another ability that I'll get to at 4th level. So you might think, we found our girl, yay, she's back. She's not quite the same, but she likes us and protects us, and we're happy to be together again, and we protect her too, as we should. As we were made. As it will always be. Oh, and if you want more videos on Poof2 breakdowns, classes, and ancestries, hit the subscribe button. It'll ensure you see my upcoming videos, and it'll tell me if I'm making content you like, so I can make more of it. 3rd level. This one's convoluted, so stay with me. We're taking the Adopted Ancestry General feat to select from Gnome Ancestry feats. We'll choose First World Magic, which reads, your connection to the First World grants you a primal innate spell, much like those of the Fae. Choose one cantrip from the primal spell list. You can cast the spell as a primal innate spell at will. Which makes sense to me because Playmate was originally made of the nature, the stuff of the realm of the Fae. So primal magic is in its nature. And we're going to choose Puff of Poison, which says, you exhale a shimmering cloud of toxic breath at an enemy's face. The target takes poison damage equal to your spellcasting modifier and 2 persistent poison damage depending on how badly it saves. Now this is normally a spell that we don't get from the occult spell list, so we wouldn't have access to it, so that's cool. Plus, since it's a cantrip, we can use it as often as we like. Even when you're lying lifeless on the floor like a doll and somebody picks you up, you just vomit poison into their face. And it's supposed to have a verbal component, so I'd like it to be bleh. And 3rd level, skill boost. You'll need to choose Expert in Diplomacy for the next level ability, so do that. 4th level, we're taking the feat, this name, Shu Tak Noir Skillful Tresses. Shu Tak Noir's Skillful Tresses. You can expertly control your living hair and use it to perform various tasks. You can perform simple interact actions with your hair, such as opening an unlocked door or picking up objects. Your hair can't perform actions that require fingers or significant manual dexterity, including any action that would require a check to accomplish. Your hair can hold items up to 1 bulk, so pretty little, but can't activate or attack with any items it's holding. It gives you 10-foot reach. That's probably good that you can't, because if you wanted to, you could pick up a spear with your hair and get extra reach. So the ability's weird, but useful. I think I would have Playmate just like play dead in Priscilla's arms all the time, with its hair gently caressing her face, or playing with her hair, like I picture their hair intertwining. Also, you should do this with anyone you feel close to in game. They'll like it, I'm sure. You're being nice. I also kind of like the idea of Playmate being carried through a marketplace and quietly grabbing something from a nearby stall out of curiosity, or maybe to eat. While on that topic, eating. If Poppets have to eat, then what do they eat? They have no organs, no bodily fluids, no process to digest food or absorb nutrients. Maybe they eat sawdust and cotton, or oils or fat to grease their parts. Or how about insects and pigments to keep their dyed parts looking bright? So you just like eat plants along the way. 4th level, we're choosing the Multiclass Archetype Dedication Feat Initial Eidolon ability. That's a long title. Now Priscilla has a reaction ability, Dutiful Retaliation. If Playmate is attacked within 15 feet of Priscilla, and she's within 15 feet of Playmate, she can strike back with ectoplasmic energy. Whack! Leave my friend alone! It's cool. She's protecting you. Do that for each other. And the skill feat we get at 4th level, we are choosing Glad Hand. It reads, First impressions are your strong suit. When you meet someone in a casual or social situation, you can immediately attempt a diplomacy check to make an impression on that creature, rather than needing to converse for a minute. You take a -5 penalty to the check. If you fail or critically fail, you can engage in 1 minute of conversation and attempt a new check at the end of that time, rather than accepting the failure or critical failure result. So basically, you can try it right away, and then you can try it again later when most people would. You know, Playmate really does just want to be safe and okay. And one way to assure itself of that is to make friends with new people quickly. So that feat made sense. At 5th level, we get an Ancestry feat, so we'll take the Nothing But Fluff feat, which I mentioned earlier. It says, your fluffy interior lacks specific organs and struts, with few weak spots to injure. You gain resistance to precision damage equal to half your level. And apparently that's really rare to get. Mostly, we're just taking it because it's strange, and it's really funny to carry swords around in your chest. Now, at 6th level, we will take Sutak Noir's Deadly Hair feat. It says Deadly Hairy feat. Your hair unarmed attack deals 1d6 bludgeoning damage and gains the grapple trait. Yes, finally we can grapple people with our stinky, greasy hair taken from dead people. You also get a skill feat at level 6, and now you can take Aura Sight, so you can see people's emotional and physical states, which is cool. For pure combat optimizing, you'd probably take Titan Wrestler, or now you could take Intimidating Glare if you didn't before. It's kind of cool. You intimidate with a glance instead of using words, which is obviously badass. Yes, a glance from a button. While Playmate's lifeless and limp, a button looks at you, and it's angry. If you want a more focused optimizing, you could also take the Eldritch Claws Witch feat to be able to put weapon runes on your claws and to cast a spell through your claws. You'd probably do that at 1st level instead of the lesson. I just like the hair because it's weird, and the lesson is creepy. All in all, we are a monstrous 2-foot-tall plushie with dagger fingers and random hair and skin attached to us who can trip, disarm, grapple, shove, or smack people with its hair. When we curse someone or use the Needle of Vengeance spell, we slowly skewer ourselves with a sharp implement, and probably roll intimidation in the same round. We vomit poisonous gas clouds, hit enemies from 10 feet away with our hair, and if we get hit, our Phantom Eidolon backhands them. Spiritual pimp slap. And we can calm people down if they're scared, removing the frightened condition. Also, Playmate is fiercely loyal. Protectiveness is baked into its core. It is never going to be more happy than when it is facing a threat with friends by its side together. That is the greatest feeling it can experience. Because it knows that it's safe. Because the threat is out there. And that it belongs somewhere, helping people who appreciate it. In addition to this, you also get the spells that a witch gets. I didn't even go over general spell selection. There are great utility, offensive, defensive, and creepy spells to choose from, like the 1st level spell Grim Tendrils, which lets you spray shadow tentacles in a 30-foot line. You can flavor it like you're spitting those out too, just for flavor. Moving forward, you could have the patron for this character be an actual hag, who is trying to teach Playmate to become a better witch, so that she can eventually steal it and use it for her own magic. Imagine the power she could get from a Poppet magically animated by Pain, who is also a witch. Or witch is also a witch, because it's a thing, not a person, but it's both actually. Or maybe Priscilla could turn out to still be alive, and this Eidolon pet only took the form that Playmate needed at the time. And Priscilla makes friends with Playmate and forges a completely new relationship. And do not forget to remember, you might have developed coping mechanisms to deal with your emotions, like clanking your metal nails together, counting things, or naming things out loud as you pass them, or drawing badly, or rituals like before you sit somewhere, turning in a circle to make sure you're safe. Maybe whistle pop goes the weasel when you're nervous. I don't know. Pick a feature. I got this started for you. You'll find step-by-step written directions for this character build on our website, wisdomcheckcreations.com, link in the description, along with the PDF download. And if you have a request for a character concept dripping with flavor in PF2, let me know. I'll be happy to make something for you. Like, say you want to know what a fun build for an inventor would be, or a Kitsune fox person, or you want an optimized range to build with a fun backstory, or how do I play Spawn or Ghost Rider in PF2. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, or thumbs down if you didn't. Why is that hard? To let me know what kind of content y'all would like, so I can more narrowly focus over time. And remember, 2 wrongs don't make a right, but 3 rights make a left. Okay now, bye-bye then.